Welcome back to a chilly Sunday morning, Joe Stunner Boxing. I unashamedly had a lay-in. It's bloody cold here. I'm in the UK, but I got up, eventually got up, got my mug of tea on the go. Thought I'd do a little video about a subject that I was talking to someone about yesterday, which is social media in boxing. We were talking about social media in general, but we're both boxing fans, so we talked about this subject. And a few weeks ago in Boxing News, the trade paper, which you should still all buy, it's still a brilliant paper, there was an article about social media and the effect on boxing. Now, let me give you my opinion on social media to start with, just to get the ball rolling. A young woman I work with had a baby about 6 months ago. I was chatting to her, I said, how's the kiddie? And kiddie was born premature, so, a few concerns at the start, but little girl's doing fine. And at one point, her mum said, do you know what? Before I had a baby, I never realised that such a small human being could produce so much poo. She said it with a straight face. I was in bits, Well, I feel the same about social media, because I think people who predate the internet era, and obviously the social media era, are, lunatics and morons used to be on the periphery of society, and now they have a voice right in the centre of society. And unfortunately, I never realised so many people could talk so much shit. It's just, it's coming. Whereas my friend's little girl, she's producing it one end with, social media, it comes out the other end. I've got a Facebook page, which I use quite a lot. I've had that for about 13 years, or a long time. God, has it really been that long? Yes, it has. I was on Twitter until they kicked me off it for tweeting Donald Trump and Piers Morgan and saying that their relationship was less than platonic, shall we say. I didn't phrase it in a very diplomatic way, but then the former president of the United States knows nothing about diplomacy, so why the fuck should I know about it? Yeah, I was quite proud of that, getting kicked off Twitter. Instagram, some of my younger acquaintances say, get on Instagram, it's brilliant, get on Instagram. And to me, it just seems like a load of fucking pictures of food and people, hey, look at me, woo, selfies and all that. All right, if that's your gig, fair enough, but it ain't really my thing. But that's just my opinion on social media. I'm not really of that generation, am I? And if you like it, great, you like it. And as far as boxing's concerned, I think there are pros and cons. The pros are, well, the most obvious one is that fighters have a voice. They can promote themselves, and they can connect with their fans instantly and talk to their fans directly and bring them in and build their fan base. And they're not reliant on someone, whether it's a media outlet or a manager or a promotional team, to speak for them. They can speak directly to their fans, to the public, and say, this is what I think, this is what I want. The downside of that, the flip side of that, is that once they've said something, put it out there, tweeted it, or put it on Instagram or whatever, they can't take it back. It's forever there. It's like having your face tattooed. And people get hung with their own quotes. So, and we've seen this, but especially in this sort of revolting sort of woke culture, that element of society, which should disgust anyone, certainly disgusts me. Oh, you tweeted this 10 years ago, how dare you? And people, ignoring context of what's been said, and some people who believe that you can never use certain words, certain phrases, regardless of context, all that sort of revolting stuff. You end up getting hung with your own quotes, and you may put stuff on it that you regret. So, we all change and mature as people. We all evolve as people. So you get people, 10 years ago, they were immature little kids. Now they're mature, and they regret saying something or doing something. So they have to give a public apology and all this bollocks. Because everyone else who condemns them was obviously born perfect, Now, the fact that fighters are expected to have, big Instagram followings and, get on Twitter and constantly promote themselves, does beg the question, what is the role of the promoter in boxing? Because we're seeing this at the moment with Terence Crawford and, excuse me, the old joints creaking. We're seeing this at the moment with the Terence Crawford Bob Arum thing. I'm sure you're aware, that Crawford's taken out a court case. He's suing Bob Arum for his $20 million. And Arum has countered by saying, look, it's nothing to do with race. Terence is a brilliant fighter, but just didn't promote himself enough. Well, coming from a promoter, that seems like an odd thing to say, because what are we saying here? Are we saying that fighters have to promote themselves? They have to have big followings. They can't just do their talking in the ring. They have to be controversial, quote unquote, or they have to do, they have to be active in the social field in order to be considered a viable, I hate this phrase, but a viable product. That seems to be what Arum is saying, and it's also what Eddie Hearn has implied as well. Because I remember, several years ago, he said, what I say to my fighters when I've signed them is, get on social media, get on Twitter, get on Instagram, and all this. And of course, we've got the phenomenon of the Paul brothers, Jake Paul, Logan Paul. I'm still amazed that I've even heard of these people. They're basically very, very low level. Well, they're novices. They're novice fighters. And yet, because they've got a lot of YouTube, millions of YouTube subscribers and Instagram followers or whatever it is, suddenly it's, people are paying attention to it. Well, I think there was an interesting quote in the Boxing News article, and it was the film director Martin Scorsese was saying it. He made comments about these sort of superhero movies and said that we now have, visual entertainment and cinema. So he was kind of saying there's now two different categories, superhero movies, popcorn movies, they sort of wash over you, they entertain you, but it's not really serious filmmaking, and we have serious cinema. Well, I think the same is true in boxing. You now have your Jake Pauls, and look, if anyone gets in the ring and they've got the guts to do that, especially in front of millions of people, I got respect for them. But it is kind of like a circus act. It is a low level, in terms of skill, circus act, which sells by the bucket load. And on the other hand, you've got the serious boxers, Josh Taylor, Terence Crawford. These people are never, ever going to do the numbers of a Jake Paul. The casuals, the internet phenomenon, that zeitgeist that seems to exist at the moment, leans far towards everything that's bright and sparkly and, not, the old phrase, all that glitters isn't gold, doesn't seem to occur to anyone. It's good entertainment. It's popcorn stuff. It's have a few beers and, you're not really interested in what's going on. It's just that how bright it is, how shiny it is. And the real substance that lies beneath isn't really a consideration to most people. So I'm very much on the side of, I'm what Scorsese would have called cinema rather than visual entertainment. When it comes to boxing, I follow the sport all my life virtually. So I love boxing and I'm a hardcore fan. And I'm not knocking the casual. I mean, casuals, it's like, I like football, but I'm a casual football fan. You ask me about, the history of football, or even I couldn't even name you every player in the team I support, which is Arsenal. But so we're all casuals with some sports to some degree, or with some interest. We can't say, I quite like that, but I don't really know much about it. Well, that's fine being a casual, but how healthy is it that, Triller, the Paul brothers dominate the narrative, whereas those of us that really understand boxing and really love it and care about the sport, we're not fanboys. We don't, we recognise that the sport transcends any fighter. That's another thing. Fanboys, they're a big phenomenon. Mayweather, Fury, you name it. I've done videos on this if you want to watch them, but not really people that put boxing above individual people. They kind of vicariously live through their heroes. I mean, we all did that when we were like 10, but you get adult people doing it now. People in their 20s and 30s are doing it. There is such a thing as growing out of that fanboyism and becoming a mature person, but not everyone seems to do that. But yeah, so social media. I mean, give me your thoughts on this, because I think it's a subject that some of us of an older age didn't see coming. Yeah, just a very, very interesting subject. If you can get hold of that Boxing News article, I suggest you read it. It's very, 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 make a lot of good points. Very interesting article. Let me know your feelings below. Social media, good thing or bad thing? I'm sort of in the middle. I mean, I've never thought of something like the internet as being anything other than just a tool to use. It can be used for good things or bad things. Social media is the same, it's just a tool in the toolbox, if you like. But for fighters, a good thing or a bad thing? Does it get them more opportunities? And getting back to that question, if fighters are now expected to promote themselves, what is the purpose of the promoter? To just rent the buildings, put the word out there? Jake Paul, I believe I'm right in saying, has his own promotional company. Maybe more fighters can do that, or maybe they can't, because maybe some fighters still need the old-fashioned promoters so that they can concentrate on their trade, so that they can. Or maybe they're just not, like Terence Crawford's a very introvert guy. Maybe some fighters, they're not interested in social media. If they're great fighters, does the importance of social media limit their options if they're not really that interested in getting involved in it? I don't know. All this stuff's interesting. But let me know your thoughts below. Thanks for watching, as always. Yeah, I'm going to warm this room up a bit now. I hope you have a nice Sunday. Don't forget to get down to, Churchland and take a few lessons from the good book. You ain't gonna, are you? Neither am I. But yeah, look, whatever you're up to, have a good Sunday. And we'll speak soon again. And as always, much love to you. Take care of yourself.